Theodore Bancroft rode through mountains turned copper bright by October sun. 1 year away. 12 months building an empire beneath Colorado stone. The expanded mines would secure his son's future for generations. He'd promised 2 months. It became 12. The grand house appeared through aspens shedding gold. Theodore dismounted, boots hitting packed earth with satisfying weight. Success had a sound. He'd brought it home. William. His voice echoed across the yard. Papa's home. Silence. Then small footsteps inside. The door opened. A boy appeared taller than Theodore remembered, face thinner, eyes wary. Behind him stood the nanny, a young widow named Sarah. Her hand rested protective on the child's shoulder. Theodore's arms opened wide. His smile felt enormous. "Come here, son. Let me see how you've grown." The boy shrank back against Sarah's skirts. Theodore stepped forward. "William, it's Papa. I've come home." The child's fingers clutched fabric. His voice came small and confused. He looked up at Sarah, not at Theodore. "Who is that man?" The words hit like a fist to the chest. Theodore's arms fell. "William, I'm your father. Don't you... You're frightening him. Mr. Bancroft." Sarah's voice held gentle steel. She knelt, brought her face level with the boy's. "This is your papa. Remember like in the photograph I showed you? But he's big." William's whisper carried across the threshold. "And he sounds scary." Theodore stood frozen. The October sun felt cold. His son, his own blood, stared at him like he was a stranger asking for directions. "Come inside, Mr. Bancroft." Sarah guided William back. "Give him space." Theodore followed them into his own house. The entry hall felt cavernous, his footsteps too loud. William ran upstairs. A door closed. Sarah turned, her expression kind but firm. "You've been gone 12 months, Mr. Bancroft. He was 4 when you left. He's 5 now. You're new to him." "I'm his father." Theodore heard desperation creep into his voice. "I've been working for him. Building something that will... He doesn't need mines." Sarah folded her arms. "He needs a father who stays." The afternoon light shifted. Dust motes drifted through silence. Somewhere upstairs. Small feet paced back and forth. Theodore set his hat on the entry table. His hands shook. "I don't understand. I wrote letters. Sent gifts. He can't read yet, and gifts don't tuck him in at night." Sarah's eyes held no judgment, only truth. "You left when he was barely more than a baby. You're a memory he doesn't have anymore." Theodore walked to the window, watched the mountains he'd conquered for profit. They looked the same as always, beautiful and indifferent. "I didn't mean..." He stopped, started again. "His mother died. The house was full of grief. I had to run." Sarah's voice softened. "I understand running, Mr. Bancroft, but you can't run home and expect everything to be waiting like you left it. Children grow. They forget." Upstairs. A door opened cautiously. Small feet crept to the landing. Theodore looked up. William peered through the banister rails, studying him like some strange animal. Theodore raised his hand, smiled, hoped. William disappeared back into his room. Sarah sighed. He'll need time. Theodore stood alone in the entry hall long after she'd gone to make supper. Dust settled around his boots. Outside, the Copper Mountains faded to shadow. He'd built an empire underground, but he'd lost his son. Morning brought Theodore downstairs with a plan. He'd fix this the way he fixed everything, with resources and determination. William sat at breakfast between Sarah and the empty chair that had been Theodore's. The boy's feet swung above the floor, milk mustache on his upper lip. He looked so much like his mother it hurt. "Good morning, son." Theodore kept his voice gentle. "May I sit with you William's spoon froze halfway to his mouth. He looked at Sarah. "Of course, Mr. Bancroft," Sarah gestured to the chair. "It's your table." Theodore sat. The chair felt foreign. He'd eaten in mining camps for a year, standing up or crouched by fires. This civilized breakfast table seemed like theater. "I brought you something." Theodore pulled a carved wooden train from his pocket. He'd commissioned it from the best craftsman in Denver. Perfect detail. Polished brass fittings. "See the wheels really turn?" He held it toward William. The boy stared at it. His small hand reached, then pulled back. His eyes filled with confusion. "Take it," Theodore urged. "It's yours." William shook his head, pushed back from the table. The train fell from Theodore's hand, clattering on hardwood. "William!" Theodore started to rise. The boy ran. His footsteps pounded up the stairs. A door slammed. Theodore stood holding the fallen train. Sarah remained seated, her coffee cooling between her hands. "I don't understand." Theodore's voice cracked. "I'm trying. I'm his father." "You're a stranger who claims to be his father." Sarah met his eyes. "There's a difference." "Then what do I do?" Anger mixed with desperation. "I can't just, I have to leave again in 3 months. Nevada expansion starts in January. I need to establish connection before, then perhaps that's the problem. Mr. Bancroft?" Sarah stood, began clearing plates. "You're already planning your next departure." Theodore watched her work. Efficient movements. Comfortable in this kitchen. She'd lived here a year. Longer than he had since his wife died. "The Nevada mines are crucial. I've invested everything. I can't just abandon—" "Your son was abandoned." Sarah's words were quiet but absolute. "By you. When you chose 12 months over 2? The truth sat heavy in the room. Theodore looked down at the train in his hands. Expensive. Perfect. Meaningless. How do I fix this? Sarah paused at the sink. Her profile showed strength earned through loss. She'd been widowed young, no children of her own. She understood grief. Stop trying to command him. She turned. Children aren't mines to excavate. They're not problems to solve with money and force. Then what are they? People. Sarah dried her hands. Small people who need time and patience and someone who stays. Evening found Theodore on the porch. Through the window he watched Sarah read to William by lamplight. The boy curled against her side, completely trusting. Her voice rose and fell with the story. They laughed together at something. The sound carried through glass. Theodore remained outside, separate, watching his own life through a window like a stranger peering into warmth he couldn't enter. He'd conquered mountains, amassed fortune, built an empire, but he couldn't reach his own son. Sarah glanced up, saw him watching. Her expression held something Theodore couldn't name. Pity, perhaps, or understanding. She said something to William, who nodded. They continued reading. Theodore stood in growing dark when stars appeared. He finally went inside. The house smelled of bread and lamp oil. Domestic. Safe. He climbed stairs to William's room. The door stood open a crack. He could see the boy in bed, Sarah tucking blankets. Will the man leave again? William's voice was sleepy. Theodore froze on the landing. I don't know. Sarah answered honestly. But he's trying to know you. I don't want to know him. He makes me scared. The words cut deeper than any he'd heard. Sarah kissed William's forehead. Sometimes people make us scared because we don't understand them yet. Give him time. Give yourself time. She emerged. Found Theodore on the landing. Her eyes said she knew he'd heard. Children need time, not commands. She whispered. She passed him. Footsteps fading downstairs. Theodore looked into his son's room. William faced the wall, small shoulders curved. He'd been gone 12 months. The boy was 5 now, a stranger living in Theodore's house. Theodore closed the door quietly, went to his own room, sat in darkness. Outside, wind moved through aspens. Leaves fell like gold coins, worthless treasure. Theodore couldn't sleep. His study drew him at midnight, familiar refuge of ledgers and reports. Empire on paper, measurable, controllable. He lit the lamp. Spread Nevada expansion documents across mahogany. Numbers that should have excited him felt hollow. His wife's portrait hung above the fireplace. Margaret, dead 5 years now. She'd lasted only hours after William's birth. Theodore remembered her face, the light leaving her eyes. The tiny red screaming thing the doctor placed in his arms. Your son, Mr. Bancroft. He'd held William once, just once, then handed him to the wet nurse. The house filled with grief. Every room held Margaret's absence, her dresses in the closet, her books on the shelf, her laughter gone. Theodore fled to the mines 6 weeks later. He told himself it was business, necessary. The mines needed his attention. He'd hire good staff. The boy would be fine. 1 trip became 3. 3 became constant. He'd come home for a week, maybe 2. William would cry when he left, cling to his legs. Don't go, Papa. Please don't go. Theodore would pry small fingers loose. Papa has to work. Be good for the nanny. Last year's departure was supposed to be different. 2 months. He'd promised William. Just 2 months. Then Papa comes home. The boy was 4. Old enough to understand promises. 2 months became 4. 4 became 8. Theodore told himself the expansion was critical. Just a few more weeks. Then a few more. He'd stopped writing after month 6. What could he say? The promises were already broken. Now William was 5. Taller. Thinner. A stranger's face. Theodore pulled out the photograph album. Found the picture from William's 4th birthday. The boy smiled at the camera, frosting on his chin. Theodore wasn't in the photo. He'd been in Nevada. He turned pages. Christmas. Easter. Summer picnic. Blank spaces where a father should have been. Sarah appeared in later photos. Young widow hired when the previous nanny left. She looked serious in early pictures. By summer she was smiling, William always beside her. In the most recent photo, September. Just last month they stood by the garden fence. William held a massive pumpkin. Sarah's hand rested on his shoulder. They looked like mother and son. Theodore had no place in that picture. He walked to the window. The barn light was still on. Sarah often worked late, preparing lessons. She taught William reading and numbers, things Theodore should have done. The Nevada contracts sat on his desk. Signatures required. Departure date January 15th, 3 months from now. He could leave again. Let Sarah raise William. Send money. The boy would be provided for, educated, safe. Theodore picked up his pen. The contract waited. William's voice echoed in memory. Don't go, Papa. Please don't go. Theodore set down the pen. He gathered the Nevada documents. Every page, every contract, every promise of profit and expansion. The fireplace held cold ash from yesterday. Theodore laid kindling, struck a match. Flames caught, grew. He fed contracts to the fire one by one, watched ink curl and blacken, watched his empire burn to ash. The cost didn't matter. The investors would rage. The opportunity would pass. Let it pass. William was 5. Next year he'd be 6, then 7. Childhood had a deadline Theodore couldn't extend. The last contract curled to nothing. Theodore watched flames die to embers. Through the window. He saw Sarah and William in the yard. She'd brought him out to see the stars. The boy pointed upward, asking questions. She answered each one. Theodore pressed his hand to the glass. Still separated, still outside, but he wasn't leaving. Not this time. You want to know your son." Sarah stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. Stop trying to command him. Theodore had asked her advice that morning, swallowed his pride, admitted he had no idea how to proceed. Sarah's answer was simple and terrible: do nothing. Nothing. Theodore couldn't comprehend it. I should just be present. That's not nothing. That's everything. She poured coffee, handed him a cup. Sit in the same room. Don't demand, don't expect, just exist near him. For how long? As long as it takes. Theodore tried that afternoon. William played with blocks in the parlor. Theodore took the chair by the window, picked up a newspaper. The boy froze. Watched Theodore warily. Theodore forced himself to read, to not look, to not speak, to be furniture. After 10 minutes, William resumed playing, cautious at first. Then, with normal concentration, Theodore read the same paragraph 7 times. Every instinct screamed to move, to speak, to do something. Sarah passed the doorway, gave him an approving nod. By the end of an hour, Theodore's jaw ached from clenched tension. But William had stopped watching him. The boy sang quietly to himself while building towers. Small victory. Smallest possible victory, but victory nonetheless. The pattern continued. Theodore sat, William played. Walls between them remained but stopped growing higher. Theodore watched Sarah with new eyes. Her patience seemed infinite. William asked endless questions. Why is the sky blue? Where do birds sleep? What makes thunder? She answered each question seriously. Never dismissed, never said later, or I don't know. When William knocked over milk at supper, she simply cleaned it. Accidents happen. Let's pour more carefully next time. Theodore remembered his own father's roars over spills. Shame and fear. Sarah ruled through gentle consistency. Boundaries existed but were explained. We don't hit because hitting hurts people. We use words. We go to bed at 8 because growing boys need sleep. William tested those boundaries. Every child did. Sarah held firm without cruelty. Theodore realized he'd hired her a year ago based on references. He'd never asked about her philosophy, never cared how she raised William. He just left. One evening, after William slept, Theodore found Sarah reading in the kitchen. Why did you take this position? He sat across from her. You could have found easier work. Sarah marked her page. I needed purpose after Thomas died. We'd planned for children. That ended when his wagon overturned. I'm sorry. It was 3 years ago. She met his eyes. Your son gave me purpose when I had none. I needed him as much as he needed me. The admission hung between them. You're a better parent than I've ever been. Theodore said quietly. You're learning. Sarah's voice held no condemnation. That's what matters. Theodore watched firelight play across her face. Young still, maybe 27, widowed, alone, giving everything to raise another woman's child. Thank you, he managed, for not giving up on him or me. Sarah smiled. Children are worth patience. So are their fathers. The next morning brought small breakthrough. Theodore sat on the porch while Sarah and William played in the yard. They were gathering autumn leaves for pressing. William's ball rolled away, bounced down the steps, came to rest against Theodore's boot. The boy froze. His eyes met Theodore's. Theodore picked up the ball, held it out, said nothing. Small fingers reached, took the ball, hesitated. Thank you, William whispered. Then he ran back to Sarah. But he'd glanced back once. Just once. Eye contact for a full second. Theodore's hands shook. He pressed them to his knees. Sarah had witnessed it. She caught his eye across the yard. Her smile said, see progress. That evening at supper, William didn't run when Theodore entered. The boy stayed in his chair, ate his carrots, stole glances at Theodore like he was solving a puzzle. After William went to bed, Sarah brought Theodore coffee on the porch. "He's trying too," she said. "He's afraid but curious. That's how children learn." Theodore looked at the stars. "I canceled the Nevada expansion." Sarah's cup paused halfway to her lips. "You did? Burned the contracts. I'm staying." Silence. Then Sarah's hand touched his shoulder briefly. "That's the best gift you could give him." Theodore nodded, couldn't speak past the tightness in his throat. Below them, the valley spread dark and vast. Above, stars wheeled eternal. Theodore was learning to be still, to be present, to be a father. November arrived with frost. The world turned silver each morning. William delighted in ice patterns on windows. Sarah taught him to find beauty in cold things. See how each crystal is different, like snowflakes, like people, each one unique. Theodore watched from the doorway, learning by observation. Business partners sent increasingly angry telegrams. Theodore burned those too. He wrote back once, "Family emergency, Nevada expansion postponed indefinitely. Let them find another investor. Let them rage." William was 5. This year wouldn't come again. Sarah asked him one morning, "Why did you really stay?" They stood in the barn while William fed chickens. The boy's laughter carried through thin walls. "Because I already lost 12 months. Theodore said, "I won't lose another day." Sarah studied him. "You're different than when you arrived." "I was arrogant when I arrived." "You were hurting," she corrected. "You've stopped running from it." Theodore felt the truth of that. The grief he'd buried in work was surfacing. Margaret's death. William's babyhood missed. The years fled past while Theodore dug deeper into stone. "I didn't know how to be both," he admitted. "Father and griever. You don't have to choose." Sarah's voice was gentle. "Grief doesn't mean you love William less. It means you loved Margaret." Both things can be true. Something loosened in Theodore's chest. That afternoon, William's ball rolled to Theodore's feet again. This time Theodore rolled it back. William caught it, rolled it back. They played catch for 3 minutes, not speaking, just rolling a ball back and forth across porch boards. Sarah watched from the garden, a smile playing at her lips. When William finally ran back to his blocks, Theodore felt lightheaded with joy. 3 minutes, a ball rolling, everything. That evening they ate supper together. William told Sarah about the chickens. "The brown one is bossy. She pecks the others. Some creatures are like that." Sarah agreed. "Like Mr. Thornton at the Mercantile," William added. "He's bossy too." Theodore laughed before he could stop himself. William looked at him, startled, then slowly smiled back. Sarah's eyes shone. After William went to bed, Theodore helped Sarah clean dishes. They worked in comfortable silence. She washed. He dried. "You're good at this," Sarah said. "Drying dishes. Being present. It's harder than people think." Theodore set down the last plate. "I'm learning from the best teacher." Sarah blushed. "I'm no teacher. You are." Theodore meant it. "You've taught me everything that matters." She met his eyes. Something shifted in the air between them. Awareness. Connection. Sarah looked away first. "I should check on William." She left quickly. Theodore stood alone in the kitchen. He'd noticed before that she was pretty. Now he noticed she was essential. That her absence would hollow this house worse than his wife's death had. The thought shook him. Outside, first snow began to fall. Soft flakes drifting past lamplight. Theodore went to the window, watched white accumulate on copper mountains. November's transformation had begun. The next morning. William pressed his nose to frosty glass. Look, snow. Sarah bundled him in coat and mittens. They ran outside together. Theodore followed. Stood on the porch while they made snow angels. William looked up. You can play too. The invitation was uncertain, testing, but real. Theodore walked down the steps, lay in snow beside them, moved his arms and legs. When he stood, 3 angels marked the yard. William studied them. That one's Sarah. That one's me. He pointed at Theodore's. That one's you. Not Papa. Just you. But included. Named, acknowledged. Sarah caught Theodore's eye. Her smile said he's trying too. That evening, Theodore read his newspaper by the fire. William played nearby with wooden soldiers, closer than last week, close enough that Theodore could hear him creating dialogue. Attack number retreat. The cavalry is coming. Theodore lowered the paper. Who's winning? William froze. Looked at him. The cavalry. They're always brave. Always. Sarah says brave means doing hard things even when you're scared. Theodore's throat tightened. Sarah's right. William nodded. Went back to his game. But he'd answered. Spoken to Theodore directly. Several sentences. Progress. Later. After William slept. Sarah joined Theodore on the porch. First snow mantled everything white. The world looked new. He spoke to me today. Theodore said, about cavalry and bravery. He's been watching you. Sarah wrapped her shawl tighter. Trying to understand who you are. What does he see? A man trying to be better. Children recognize honesty. But they stood in comfortable silence. Snow fell soft and constant. Theodore realized he didn't want Sarah to leave, not just for William's sake, for his own. The thought terrified and compelled him equally. The nightmare came at 2 a.m. Theodore woke to crying. Small voice calling, Mama! Mama! Where are you? He rose, moved to William's door. The boy thrashed in blankets, half asleep, sobbing. Theodore stepped inside. William, it's all right. You're safe. William's eyes opened, saw Theodore looming in doorway. His face transformed to terror. No, you're not my papa. The scream tore through the house. You're not Sarah, Sarah. Theodore froze, helpless. Every instinct screaming to comfort, but knowing his presence caused the fear. Footsteps running. Sarah rushed past him, went straight to William. The boy threw himself into her arms. He's here. The man is here. Make him go away. Sarah held him, rocked him, murmured soft words Theodore couldn't hear. William sobbed against her shoulder. I want my real papa. Where's my real papa? The words destroyed Theodore more completely than the first question had. He backed out, stood in the dark hallway. Useless. Worse than useless. His presence traumatized his own child. After long minutes, William's crying settled. Sarah's voice rose and fell with a lullaby. Theodore went downstairs, sat in his study. 3 a.m. darkness pressed against windows. He'd failed. Completely. Irredeemably. William didn't just not know him. The boy feared him. Associated Theodore with loss and absence and pain. Footsteps on the stairs. Sarah appeared in the doorway, lamp in hand. He's asleep, she said quietly. Theodore nodded, couldn't speak. Sarah set down the lamp, sat across from him. Her face showed exhaustion and compassion. He was 4 when you left, she said gently. In his memory, his papa was whoever was here before. That person disappeared. Now you've come. You look different, sound different, in his child's mind. You're the man who made his real papa vanish. The logic was brutal and perfect. I broke him. Theodore's voice cracked. My own son. I broke him. No. Sarah leaned forward. You hurt him. There's a difference. Broken things can't heal. Hurt things can if you let them. How do I fix this? You don't fix it. You heal it. Together. Slowly. Theodore looked at his hands. Hands that had built empires. Worthless now. I've been trying, he whispered. The patience, the presence, it's not enough. It's only been a month. Sarah's voice held steel beneath gentleness. You were gone a year. Healing takes longer than hurting did. I should leave. He'd be better. Don't you dare! Sarah's eyes flashed. Don't you dare run again. That's what got you here. The words hit like a slap. I've been teaching him about you, Sarah continued, showing him photographs, telling him stories of when you held him as a baby, building a bridge between his memory and reality. But Theodore, you have to meet him halfway. I'm trying to meet him. He won't let me near. Because you're not just a stranger. You're the stranger he's supposed to love. That's terrifying for a 5-year-old. Theodore pressed palms to his eyes. I don't know if I can do this. That's fear talking. You absolutely can. You've been doing it. Tonight proved otherwise. Tonight proved he's still afraid, but he's also curious. I've seen how he watches you, how he studies you when you're reading. He's trying to understand. Give him more time. Theodore looked at her. Why are you doing this fighting for me, for us? Sarah's expression softened. Because I believe people can heal. Because I believe you love him, even if you don't know how to show it yet. And because... She stopped. Started again. Because I need to believe second chances are real. For all of us. The admission hung in lamplit air. Your husband, Theodore said carefully. You loved him very much. I did. His death nearly broke me. Your son saved me from that. Gave me reason to keep living. Then I owe you everything. You owe me nothing. Sarah stood. But you owe William everything. And yourself. Don't run from this. Theodore. Not again. She left him alone with those words. Dawn found Theodore at William's door. The boy slept peacefully, curled around his stuffed horse. Theodore whispered into the silence, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I'm not leaving. I promise. Downstairs. Sarah made coffee. She handed him a cup when he entered. Come with me today, she said. To the barn. Just stand in the doorway while I teach William his letters. Don't speak. Don't engage. Just let him see you're here. Theodore nodded. They walked to the barn together. William already there, feeding chickens. He saw Theodore, tensed, but didn't run. Sarah began the lesson. Theodore stood in the doorway, silent, present. William glanced at him occasionally, fearful, but each glance lasted slightly longer, by lesson's end. The boy had stopped checking if Theodore was still there. Acceptance of presence. Not comfort, not trust, but a beginning. November deepened its cold. Theodore existed in strange limbo, present in body, absent from his son's heart. Business letters arrived daily. He burned them unread. Sarah found him one afternoon surrounded by ledgers and contracts, documents he couldn't focus on, an empire rendered meaningless. What are you doing? She asked. Trying to work. Failing. Sarah studied the papers. These are old mine reports. I keep thinking I should care about them. Theodore pushed them away. All I care about is that boy upstairs who still flinches when I enter a room. That's growth, Sarah said. A month ago, all you cared about was the mines. Now I care about the wrong things. Love is never wrong. Theodore looked at her. How do you stay so certain you've lost as much as I have? Sarah sat, her hands folded in her lap. After Thomas died, I wanted to die too. For months, I just existed. Then your advertisement for a nanny appeared. I took it because I needed money, stayed because William needed someone who wouldn't leave. And now I need him as much as he needs me. Her voice softened. And I see you trying. That matters more than success. I'm not trying, I'm paralyzed. You're grieving, Sarah corrected. For Margaret, for the years lost, for the father you haven't been. Grief paralyzes. But it passes if you let it. Theodore felt tears threaten, swallowed them. I don't know how to let it pass. You stop running from it. Sarah met his eyes. You sit with it. Feel it. Let it hurt. Then let it heal. That's what I'm asking William to do. Exactly. You're both hurt, both healing. That's why you'll understand each other eventually. The words offered hope Theodore didn't deserve. That night, William had another nightmare. Theodore heard the crying, forced himself to stay in his room. Let Sarah handle it. But afterward, she came to his door. Come with me, she said. Just to the hallway. Let him see you're here. They walked together, stood outside William's room. Sarah called softly, William, are you all right? Bad dream, came the small voice. Theodore is here too. We're both here. You're safe. Silence. Then, okay. Not acceptance, but not rejection either. They stood guard together until William's breathing deepened to sleep. In the hallway darkness, Sarah's hand found Theodore's. See? She whispered. He's trying too. Days passed. Theodore continued his patient presence, sitting in rooms, existing near his son. Building familiarity through repetition, one evening, he read his newspaper by the fire. William played nearby. The boy had been talking to his toy soldiers but fell silent. Theodore glanced over. William was staring at him. Can I ask you something? The boy said. Theodore's heart stopped. Of course. Why did you leave? The question held no accusation, just pure 5-year-old curiosity. Theodore set down the paper, chose his words carefully. I was sad when your mama died. I didn't know how to be sad and be a good papa at the same time. So I went to work where I didn't have to feel sad. William considered this. Were you sad because of me? No. Theodore's voice broke. Never because of you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I just didn't know that yet. Sarah says you're learning now. I am? She's a very good teacher. William nodded. Went back to his soldiers. The conversation lasted 30 seconds. Changed everything. Later, after William slept, Sarah found Theodore on the porch. He asked why I left. Theodore said, I told him the truth. That was brave. It was terrifying. Sarah smiled. Brave means doing hard things even when you're scared. You told him that. Theodore looked at her. Really looked. Saw the woman who'd held his house together, who'd loved his son when Theodore couldn't, who'd taught him patience and presence and the courage to stay. What do you need? Sarah. The question came unbidden. You've given everything to us, to him, to me. What do you need? Her expression shifted. Vulnerable. Honest. I need to matter to someone again, she whispered. Not as a nanny, not as a substitute, as myself. You matter. Theodore's voice was fierce. You're not a substitute. You're essential. This house lives because you're in it. William breathes because you breathe. He stopped. The words he wanted to say terrified him. Sarah waited. Firelight played across her face. I don't want you to leave. Theodore finished. Ever. I wasn't planning to. Not as a nanny. As he struggled. As family, real family. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You're not asking me to marry you, she said carefully. I'm asking you to matter. Officially. As his mother, as... Theodore took a breath. As my wife. Not for romance. For recognition. You've been his mother in every way that counts. Make it official. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. For his sake. For all our sakes. She looked toward the house, toward the bedroom where William slept. If I say yes, you have to promise me something. Theodore. Anything. You have to promise you'll stay. Not just in body, in heart. No more running. No more choosing work over us. I promise. Theodore meant it with everything he had. I'm already home. Sarah's hand covered his. Then yes, she whispered. For his sake, for ours, yes. First real snow arrived on a December morning, heavy flakes blanketing the world in white. William pressed his face to the window, breath-fogging glass. Can we go out? Sarah bundled him in coat and mittens. They stepped into transformed landscape. Theodore watched from the porch. Then, decision made. He followed. Sarah and William were packing snow into a base, building something. Theodore knelt beside them. Didn't ask permission. Just started rolling a second snowball. William froze. Watched him warily. Sarah smiled. Good idea. We need 3. They worked together. Silent collaboration. Theodore rolled the largest base. Sarah crafted the middle. William patted small snowball for the head. Their hands touched, passing the carrot nose. William saw, looked between them. Something shifted in the boy's eyes. Understanding without words. We need a hat, Sarah said. William ran to fetch one, returned with Theodore's old work hat, placed it carefully on the snowman. There, the boy stepped back, studied their creation. Then, quietly, Papa Snowman. Theodore's breath caught. Sarah's hand found his. That's right, Theodore managed, voice rough. Papa Snowman. William glanced at him, not running, not hiding, just looking. He's big like you. The boy said, He is, and he's staying. Snowmen don't leave. The words hit like absolution. Neither do I, Theodore said. Not anymore. William nodded, ran to make snow angels. Sarah squeezed Theodore's hand. He's accepting you. Because of you. Everything is because of you. That evening, after William slept, Theodore found Sarah in the kitchen. She was mending by lamplight. He sat across from her, hands folded on worn wood. I meant what I said. About marriage. Sarah's needle paused. I know. It's not romantic. I'm not offering poetry and promises of eternal love. I know that too. But it's honest. You've been his mother. You've been the heart of this house. I want to make it official, legal, real. Sarah set down her mending. Why now? Because today he called the snowman Papa. Because I watched you teach him to find beauty in frost. Because every good thing in his life comes from you. Theodore's voice dropped. And because I can't imagine this house without you in it. As a nanny or as something more, as family, as his mother, as my wife. Sarah studied him. You're not in love with me. I don't know what I am. Theodore was brutally honest. I know I respect you, admire you, need you in ways that terrify me. If that's love, then yes. If not, then I'm offering you partnership, commitment. A place that's yours by right, not employment. For William's sake, For all our sakes. Sarah reached across the table, took his hands. I'll marry you, she said quietly. Not for romance, but because he needs a mother and father who stay. Because this house needs a foundation. Because, she paused. Because I need to belong somewhere again. You belong here. Always have. Her eyes shone. Then yes, I'll marry you. They sat holding hands across kitchen wood. Outside, snow fell steady and soft. 2 weeks later, they stood before the circuit preacher in the ranch parlor. Ranch hands witnessed. William held Sarah's small bouquet of dried wildflowers. The preacher spoke words about commitment and faith. Theodore barely heard them. He heard William's giggle when the preacher said, "Kiss your bride." Heard Sarah's soft intake of breath. Heard his own heartbeat saying, "This is right. This is home." He kissed her gently. Respectful. Honest. William clapped. The ranch hands cheered. Sarah smiled up at Theodore. We're family now. Official. We were always family, Theodore said. Now we've just told the truth. That night, William called from his bedroom. Sarah. She went. Theodore followed. Stood in the doorway. Are you my mama now? William asked. Really, truly, really, truly. Good. The boy settled into pillows, looked at Theodore. And he's my papa. Sarah glanced back. Let Theodore answer. I am. Theodore said, if you'll have me. William considered, then nodded. Okay, but you have to stay. I will. I promise. Forever. Forever. William smiled, closed his eyes. Good. I was tired of being scared. Sarah tucked him in. They left together, in the hallway. She leaned against Theodore. We did it. We're a family. Theodore held her. We are. Outside, snow covered the copper mountains in white, transformation complete. Inside, 3 people slept under one roof. Not perfect, not without wounds, but healing. Together. Christmas arrived on scents of pine and gingerbread. Sarah transformed the house with evergreen boughs and candles in every window. William helped string popcorn. His small hands pushed kernels onto thread while Theodore held the other end. They worked in comfortable silence, broken by the boys' chatter. Do you think Santa knows I live here now that we're a real family? I think Santa always knew, Theodore said. He's smart like that. Sarah cut paper snowflakes at the table. The kitchen smelled of vanilla and cinnamon. Outside, December cold pressed against windows. Inside, warmth held them safe. Theodore watched his wife and son work together. Wife. The word still felt new, but right. Sarah caught him staring, smiled. What are you thinking? That I'm the luckiest man alive? William looked up. Because of Christmas. Because of you both. The boy nodded seriously. We're lucky too. Sarah says families are chosen, not just born. She's right about everything. Theodore said. Sarah threw a wadded paper at him. Not everything. William giggled. The sound filled the kitchen like music. Christmas Eve settled soft and clear. Stars appeared in darkening sky. They gathered in the parlor by the fire. William sat between them on the floor, drowsy from excitement and cookies. He leaned against Sarah's knee. His eyes grew heavy. Then he shifted, looked at Theodore, testing waters still uncertain. Papa. Theodore's heart stopped. First time. First real time without prompting. Yes. Will you tell a story? Sarah's hand found Theodore's. She squeezed. Theodore's voice nearly failed. He cleared his throat. What kind of story about you? When you were little? Theodore settled back. William watching him with trusting eyes. Sarah beside him. His family. When I was a boy, Theodore began, we lived near silver mines. Christmas Eve. The miners would come up from underground and sing carols in the tunnels. William's eyes widened. In the dark. In the dark. But their voices echoed so beautiful. Even in darkness, they found light, found music, found joy. Were you scared of the dark? Sometimes. But my father taught me darkness isn't forever. Morning always comes. William nodded. His eyes drifted closed. Morning always comes. Theodore continued talking soft. About snow and mountains. About lanterns glowing. About men far from home finding family in each other. William's breathing deepened. Sleep claimed him gentle and complete. Sarah whispered. He's dreaming. Theodore looked at his son. His miracle. The child who'd forgiven him without words. I'll carry him to bed. He lifted William carefully. The boy's head rested against his shoulder. Small weight of absolute trust. Theodore carried him upstairs, tucked him into bed, kissed his forehead. Merry Christmas, son, he whispered. I'm staying, I promise, forever. William sighed in sleep, smiled. Theodore stood watching him. This child who'd been a stranger, now his son again. Really, truly. Downstairs. Sarah waited by the fire. Theodore joined her. She leaned against his shoulder. He called you Papa. She said, he did. Not because I told him to. Because he wanted to. Theodore nodded. Couldn't speak past the tightness in his throat. They sat in firelight. Outside. Snow began falling. Soft flakes drifting past windows where candles glowed. Are you happy? Sarah asked quietly. Theodore considered. Happiness felt too small a word for this peace. This rightness. I'm home, he said. Finally home. Sarah's hand found his. So am I. They watched fire burn to embers, watched snow accumulate, watched night deepen. Through the window. The snowman stood sentinel. Papa Snowman with Theodore's hat, arms spread wide like welcome, beyond. The copper mountains slept beneath white blankets, transformed, new. Theodore remembered riding through autumn copper 1 year ago, triumphant, alone, certain he'd built something that mattered. He'd been wrong. This mattered, this moment, this family, this home. Sarah's head on his shoulder. William sleeping upstairs. Snow falling soft. Morning would bring Christmas, presents and laughter and William's joy. But this moment quiet and simple, this was the real gift. Theodore had spent years excavating stone, building fortune underground, accumulating wealth that meant nothing. He'd finally learned what mattered couldn't be mined or bought or built. It could only be chosen, daily, patiently. It could only be earned through staying. Sarah stirred. We should sleep. William will wake early. Theodore nodded. Rose helped her bank the fire. They climbed stairs together, past William's room. The boy slept peaceful and safe, in their own room. Sarah paused at the window. Look. The whole valley sparkled beneath snow and stars. Every fence post crowned white. Every tree limbed silver. The house glowed warm in all that cold beauty. Beacon of light in winter dark. We made this, Sarah said. This home. Theodore stood behind her, arms around her waist. You made this. I just learned to stay. We both chose it. That's what matters. She was right. Choice. Daily choice. To stay. To heal. To love. They stood watching their world transformed by snow and starlight. Somewhere below. The clock chimed midnight. Christmas Day arrived soft and clear. Theodore thought of the boy sleeping down the hall. The child who'd asked, "Who is that man?" now called him Papa. He thought of Sarah. Widow who'd needed purpose, who'd given everything, who'd taught him patience saves what force destroys. He thought of himself, man who'd run from grief into stone and darkness, who'd finally learned the only empire worth building was home. Outside. Dawn touched the copper mountains. Snow blazed gold. Inside. 3 people slept. Family forged not through blood alone, but through choice and courage, and the patient work of healing. Theodore's last thought before sleep was simple and complete. I'm staying. And finally, for the first time in 5 years, he meant it.